Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, right from the onset, I would like to say that I support Justice Maraga's action. Mr. Speaker, long before I came to this parliament, as the chairperson of Thuluthimbili Zama Akina Mama, I interacted with you on several occasions regarding this issue. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to say it out clearly that you listened to us, engaged, and helped us work through lobbying so that we would ensure that we do not get to where we are currently. And Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for that. Mr. Speaker, as I stand up to speak, I'm not speaking as a woman. I'm speaking as a member of this Kenyan society who would wish to see the rule of law govern Kenya. Mr. Speaker, I speak as a politician who, after 12 long years of struggle, was eventually elected to come to this house. And on the day I swore, or I took, on the day I was sworn in Parliament, I swore that I would protect and uphold this Constitution. Mr. Speaker, and that is what I'm doing now. Because this is not about women. This is about the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, it does not mean that when members of Parliament fail in carrying out their mandate, that the Chief Justice also must fail. In Article 261, Mr. Speaker, the Chief Justice has the mandate to advise the President on what to do to dissolve Parliament if an issue such as this has not taken effect. Mr. Speaker, so the Chief Justice is right. Mr. Speaker, this debate is not about the character of the Chief Justice or whether the Chief Justice is trying to give the last kicks of a dying horse because he's supposed to go home. Mr. Speaker, it's about Kenya. Are we ready to allow the Constitution of Kenya to actually still be regarded as the supreme law of the land? Or, when it comes to some issues, are we ready to throw the Constitution away? That is what we are discussing. Mr. Speaker, it's getting a little hot, so I'll remove my specs. Mr. Speaker, it's not enough to say that because women, members of Parliament, do not work hard, then this should be thrown out. Who said women of members of Parliament do not work hard? Mr. Speaker, as I stand here today, I've been polled and voted in as the best woman representative in the whole country by Infotrak in the latest polling. Doesn't that show that I work hard? So, Mr. Speaker, this is not about women and women's performance. Mr. Speaker, I would like to say that indeed, when we talk about Article 100...
Now, I want to the member for Emuhaya as a point of order.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. In fact, I want to bring to order and ask the member who was speaking, honorable member, and with respect, that what is this info track that he's talking about? Because we have known of fake people moving around and ranking members of Parliament, and usually they are sponsored by the people who are actually get number one. So what is this, and where did you do it? Could you explain to us exactly what it is? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I will not let that derail me, but if it is a problem, I take it back so that I can have an opportunity to move on. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to say that Article 27 does not in any way force citizenry to vote in a particular way. We already have a similar situation in the county assembly, and we are not saying any Kenyan is forced to vote in a particular way for members of the county assembly. But if, and only if, the voting does not adhere to Article 27, you will find that there is a mechanism to ensure that that is achieved. Mr. Speaker, that is the mechanism that this House was supposed to come up with. And that is not because Mr. Maraga failed. It is because the House failed.
Member for Nyeri Town, use your point of order.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to ask whether the member who is speaking understands that in the county assembly, the structure that exists in the county assembly allows them to actually nominate the difference in terms of the MCAs so that to get to the 30%. Mr. Speaker, our constitution has capped the members of parliament in the constitution. So for us to do that, we would actually have to amend the constitution. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In effect, what the Honorable Speaker has done is actually just prove my point. What I'm saying is Article 177 already gives us that mechanism for the County Assembly. And although we do not have a mechanism for National Assembly, that is what we, as members of National Assembly, were expected to come up with. Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Kaluma.
Mr. Speaker, let me rise to help and say that it is not the business of this House to make the Constitution or to amend it. The two-third gender principle springs from Article 27 of the Constitution, 27(7) in particular, which is a Bill of Rights. It's a fundamental human right provision requiring referendum under Article 255 of the Constitution. So you may wish that it were done. The question we are asking, if Kenyans did not do it, and it requires Kenyans to do, why punish Parliament for it?
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to inform the Speaker who've just spoken that, indeed, the members of the public already passed that Article 27, because it was part of the Constitution that was actually passed and promulgated in 2010. Mr. Speaker, I hear a lot of people saying, Mr. Speaker, that we must ensure that we have good governance and that the action of Mr. Maraga Justice Maraga does not promote good governance. What is good governance if it's not inclusivity? Mr. Speaker, what Maraga has done is a way to ensure that we have inclusivity, which is part of good governance. Mr. Speaker, I also hear, and I support BBI. I'm a proponent of BBI. But we will not use BBI to erode gains that are already in this Constitution. BBI is supposed to improve our lives by even enhancing inclusivity. So why would you take away the inclusivity that's already in this Constitution in the name of BBI? Mr. Speaker, I know I sound angry, but the reason why I'm sounding angry is because for 12 years I fought to get here. And I cannot imagine that now, once that I'm here, I am actually one of the people who cannot ensure that good governance, including inclusivity, is passed in this House. Mr. Speaker, I support Justice Maraga, and I pray that our President will be bold enough to dissolve this Parliament so that we go back to the people, Mr. Speaker, and get the people's mandate again. Mr. Speaker, I would like to say that this the Article 27, or the two-thirds gender rule, is the only area that has not been affected ever since this Constitution was passed 10 years ago. Mr. Speaker, I am not surprised. I am not surprised going by what has been said in this House. But, Mr. Speaker, I'm hopeful that if we move together, we can find a way to ensure that we solve this issue. And there is an opportunity. Mr.